Hello, and welcome back to your favorite podcast,
De-influence.
Oh, guys, that was so bad.
Not bad.
Not
bad.
No, I like it. We're going to keep it. It's
Okay.
raw. Okay. Hello, and welcome back to your favorite podcast, De-influence. We're so excited to welcome this week's guest. They're a duo that have taken the internet by storm. They have more than 10 million followers on TikTok, 5.4 million followers on Instagram, and over 2.6 million subscribers on YouTube. We are so excited to welcome this power couple, Tay and Kay.
Wow, 10 million. When did that happen?
Last year?
Yeah. No.
No, did we hit 10 million this year?
Yeah, it
This
had to
year
have been this
sometime.
year, I think.
This year
Yeah,
sometime.
maybe this year.
It's so rare to be like so successful on every single platform.
It's wild.
How
I have no words. I don't even know how it happened, to be honest. It's like we just started posting for fun one day and then all of a sudden we had like all these views and it's so fun, but I definitely don't. I couldn't tell you how it happened.
It's wild. And so when you started posting on all the platforms, was it all like you were posting on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok all at the same time? Or did one take off first?
It was
we-
TikTok.
Yeah, we
first,
started on TikTok
Okay.
and then I don't know, maybe like 6 months later started posting on Instagram. Did we start posting like the content we were posting on TikTok or did we backlog it? I don't remember.
So I did one thing really good at the beginning, and I saved all our raw videos. And so
Yeah.
when we finally decided to post to Instagram, I was like, oh, I got like 6 months of videos. So
Yeah.
yeah, we like just threw
Yeah.
them all out there.
we did
Oh,
the same
funny.
with YouTube.
Which
So.
is so smart to just keep all the raw, because we used to film everything on Instagram stories and then it would disappear and we were actually filming in the app. So I was like, why are we doing this? Then we have nowhere else to put it.
Yeah.
But that's when we started posting on TikTok, it was like the
Yeah.
same thing. You would just take our content that we were filming stories and like repurpose it
Totally.
and re-edit it. And sometimes like the stories were completely different.
Mhm.
And I'm like, babe, you can't be posting a completely different
Yeah,
story on
just wrapped
TikTok
them.
versus
Just wrapped it in a new narrative.
well,
Yeah.
y'all have been so successful. You're killing it. I love how real and relatable all of your content is. And that you guys are such a good example online and so family oriented. It's so sweet. So on this podcast, though, we like to kind of de-influence who we are interviewing. So I first want to de-influence y'all's like childhood, your background, your upbringing. So can you tell us more about each one of y'all's childhood growing up and like where you guys are from?
Oh,
You go
yeah.
first.
Yeah,
go
me
first.
first, you first.
You go first.
So me, I'm from Alabama, so just north of Birmingham. It was like a mix of like the city and the country, I guess. You know, you definitely had the lifted trucks and stuff.
The
So
lifted truck.
kind of
Did you have a lifted truck?
it wasn't lifted.
He did have a truck though.
My brother had a lifted truck,
Yeah.
and everyone
He
else
still
did.
has a lifted truck.
Yeah, he
I
does.
think.
Yeah, it was your typical like Southern, kind of grow up riding 4-wheelers and stuff, and it was a really good time.
And I grew up in Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
Pretty much the same thing, except just a
More
little
flat.
bit more like casinos and things like that.
Yeah.
But really it's the same thing, just very flat, no trees and small town. I basically grew up in a town that there was nothing for like 40 minutes in any direction. So you were really living in a bubble. So when I moved away from that town, I was like a fish out of water because I wasn't used to, I had a Walmart, I had some gas stations, a lot of Mexican restaurants, and that was pretty much it.
Wow.
And it was
Do y'all have
weird.
siblings?
I do. Mhm.
A lot of
Yeah.
brothers.
Yes, I do. It's all brothers.
Were you close growing up?
No, not, I wouldn't say we weren't close, but they're much younger than me. So I was 6 when my oldest brother was born. And then I was 14 when my youngest brother was born.
Okay, so big age gaps.
Big age gap. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about you? Siblings?
Yeah, I have one sister and 3 brothers, and closer age gap for my brothers, the 2 older brothers. So we were really close.
Are y'all still close, like in adulthood, with your siblings?
Yeah.
Nice.
I have like Snapchat streaks with Devin.
They're unreal.
Yeah,
She's
they're
so like cool and
I know.
young.
She's like
and
hip.
they're keeping me hip. I have Snapchat streaks with pretty much like everyone in my mom, my dad, my grandma, my
Grandma.
2 of my brothers. Yeah, I have like several.
And they're getting in like 4 digits.
yeah,
now.
like
Yeah.
we're like up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they all still live, your families both live in Alabama and Oklahoma still.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So y'all go back and visit a lot?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, my mom's actually in Texas, but she's up like in the Panhandle area of Texas. But we see her pretty often, and then we go back to Oklahoma to see my dad often too. So
What do y'all siblings think about what you do online?
I think they think it's cool.
I think they think it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't really talk a whole lot about it, to be honest. But I mean, they've said in the past, like, that's really cool. Like, you're getting tons of views, you know. But
Yeah, they're supportive.
yeah, definitely supportive.
Your brothers are too,
Yeah.
and your family. Yeah. Yeah, it's so fun because that's how my brother and I, like, we grew up in Dallas, not too far from here, actually. But it was actually the one thing that brought us together was social media because we were so different. And then he started posting on YouTube and kind of introduced me to it. And so it actually was like something that brought the family together. Because like,
that's cool.
I never played video games with him. I played sports growing up. We were just so opposite. And so it's actually really fun. And especially having like kids too. Like I know you have a daughter that's older.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's into social media, but I feel like it kind of like brings everyone together.
Yeah.
And so that's so sweet.
Definitely.
Did you guys grow up religious at all?
Yeah.
So yes, we both did. Well, I did. You can tell your story. I don't want to tell your story.
Yeah, tell us your story.
You tell your story and I'll tell my story.
Tell us your testimony.
Yeah, no.
Let's get deep.
Both sides, my parents were divorced and both sides went to church. I was like typical Southern Baptist, like big Baptist church, you know, with all the orchestra and all the instruments and stuff. And that was pretty much all the way up until I was 18 and went to the military. So.
Oh wow, you went to the military. Okay,
yeah, did you always want to join the military?
No, not really. I just
first of all, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
thank you.
Appreciate that.
I wanted to go to college, but we didn't have the money for college. And so I was like, well, I could go to the military and then they would pay for the college. So that's pretty much it with why I went to the military.
I want to hear more about your experience. First, you can tell us about your.
Oh, okay. I kind of like Taylor grew up divorced parents, very young. I think I was 2 when they got divorced, but they were both in church. Same as him. I grew up pretty much Baptist. I always went to a Baptist church growing up. And then as I've gotten older, I think it's more like non-denominational.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I do now. Yeah. But both my families religious.
Yeah.
Know.
How much does faith play a factor in your like everyday and your family these days?
Oh, I think 100%. Like it's always like it's a big part of my life. I mean,
especially the music.
Yeah,
we always jamming the Christian music.
I'm always like, if I'm going through anything stressful or scary in my life, like I'm jamming to some praise and worship music. That's just it's always playing in our house. We don't talk a lot about it, I think, on our channel, but it's definitely there. Like we have music playing in our stories sometimes.
Yeah.
And
do y'all go to church in Dallas? You should come with us to Watermark.
Yeah. Oh, you go to Watermark?
Yeah, it's like
great
kind
for
of,
kids.
and it's kind of in between us.
Oh, okay.
Like we're close to, in Dallas, central of Dallas.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we're
still doing online.
We're doing online right now. We were going in person to a church in Allen, but I got a little scared after having Ellie taking her to the nursery, and so we kind of just went back to watching it at home. But yeah, I think we would love to get back into a church.
It's kind of nice to go to a big church too, where like, okay, this sounds horrible. This gonna make me sound like a horrible Christian, but I like to sneak in, sneak out.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Especially when I did have a newborn, I would like, because like during the music, it was too loud, so we'd sneak in and then just pop out. And like our friends are like, "You want to come sit with us?" I'm like, "No, I love you guys. I'll see you later."
Sit in the back.
Yes, if you ever want to sneak in with us, you're totally welcome. Yeah. Okay, I want to hear more about your military experience. How long were you in the military?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
what
was it?
Air Force.
Air Force. Okay.
What was that like?
It was pretty cool. I mean, I think it was really good for me because they're really good at like. I'm not gonna say I was like reckless as a kid or anything, but they're really good at like getting you in line and like making you think like, what do I want to do with my life? And I think it's because the military like kind of sucks a little, like it, because you're always like getting yelled at and there's all these rules that you're like punished for at all times. So you're like constantly thinking like, what am I gonna do with my future when I leave here?
Yeah.
What are the different like dynamics between each military branch? Like, don't Army guys probably talk crap about Air Force guys? It's like police officers and firefighters. Like we're all on the same team, but like we also have these like different nuances.
Oh yeah.
Like what are the different nuances between military branches?
I know like the Air Force is like the chair force. Like we all just,
Wait, I've never heard that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Like y'all just
sit in chairs all day.
Desk jobs.
It's actually
but it's also
true, though,
like
a little
hardest to get into, right?
I think
Air Force?
Either the Air Force or the
Marines.
Coast Guard.
Oh,
No,
you
Marines are like the
you think it's
easiest.
easy?
Well, physically or mentally.
Physically, it's harder to get into the Marines, I think.
Academically, I
I
would
don't
say
know.
maybe is
I
what I'm
think
thinking.
like Air Force, Coast Guard. I don't know. There's like a Space Force now. Maybe that's harder to get into. I
That
don't
sounds
know.
tough.
That's cool. Though.
Yeah.
You should someone.
Maybe
should.
I'll go back and do Space
Yeah.
Force.
Yeah.
Re-enlist.
Got to
in
get both the
Space Force.
forces.
I wonder if the Space Force covers college tuition.
Oh, I'm sure. It's
Wow.
above the branch. I think all those benefits.
Do you have any idea what the Space Force does?
Something with space. I'm sure. No, I don't know.
With aliens.
It's so funny because it was like right when like everyone's talking about aliens, like I think it was Trump, like he launched a Space Force and everyone was like, it's happening.
Confirmed.
It's coming out.
I don't want to like deep dive into modern warfare too much or anything, but I know like drones
Please
and
do.
like, satellites and all
Yeah.
that nowadays is such a big thing. And
That's
so I
crazy.
could imagine that Space Force has something to do with satellites and surveillance and even at some point maybe weapon systems being on satellites and things like that.
You were an electrical engineer,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so did the Air Force influence you to want to become an engineer, or did you want to become an engineer and so you went into the Air Force?
I don't know if it was either. I didn't really, even up until I kind of had an idea leaving the Air Force of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But even as I left, I wasn't super sure.
Mhm.
I went the electrical background because the computer, like software engineering and electrical engineering kind of overlap a lot now. And I liked
Yeah.
to code at the time. And so it was just a good overlap.
Did you teach yourself to code?
Yeah.
While growing up?
Mhm.
How did you teach yourself to code? Did you just like tinker, or was it like you were doing your MySpace profile?
Yeah,
I know that's what we were doing.
I did that.
We were
definitely the
The
MySpace.
HTML?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely HTML on that. But no, it was a lot of tinkering. Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
like I want to make this thing happen, and then try to figure it out. And then I ended up getting some books, and like then I realized that was silly. I shouldn't have done that because the books don't really help you. Like
Yeah.
you just have to code. You can't read your way into knowing how to code.
What was the first brand of your your first computer? What brand was it? Do you remember?
Compaq.
Compaq, yeah. That's what mine was too.
Were you
It's
coding?
like no, I wasn't coding, but it's so funny. Like we all remember these like old computer brands that are never around. Like that's what we played like Freddy the Fish on and stuff.
Yeah.
like,
Freddy
Freddy
Fish
the
doesn't-
Fish,
I
Sims.
don't remember
Red
that
Alert
one.
2. Did you play Red
Sim.
Alert 2?
Yes, Red Alert
Dude.
2 was amazing.
No,
I don't know
I
what
do
it is.
I remember having the big computer with, was it Minecraft?
Oh, you played Minecraft?
No, my brother played Minecraft.
Yeah, he played Minecraft
lot.
for sure.
And then
And
I
League of Legends.
League of Legends.
and World of Warcraft.
Yes, but yes, I did
Big
play
nerd.
with
Wow.
The Sims. I was on The Sims.
Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon. Do you guys remember
Oh
that?
yeah.
I remember that
That
one.
one was
fun.
cool.
That was cool. That was hard though. I always
Yeah.
get frustrated because it was hard to build roller coasters. I could never have been like an architect or anything like that.
Yeah.
Even in the
What's
game.
Even
so
in the game.
interesting, you should do this because you're an engineer. Someone should go back and like recode all of these old games that like carry so much nostalgia value and just bring them back, like
So
reboot it.
good.
Like I tried to play Red Alert 2.
It's so hard to play.
Literally like last month, I was like, I wonder if you can do it. And you have to go through all these like coding things. And I was like, I can't do this. So funny.
So interesting.
Kay, what did you do after high school?
I got married.
You got married.
I got married at 18.
I didn't realize you were married before.
I got married and I had, so he was in the Air Force also. Y'all
Did
have
you
to
know each other?
understand.
You have a type.
We didn't actually know each
I have
other.
a type apparently.
type.
Chair Force.
No, y'all have to understand.
Chair Force.
I grew up in this very small town that had an Air Force or an Air Force base in
Yeah.
it. And pretty much unless you wanted to marry somebody from your high school, like the only other single guys were in the Air Force. I mean,
Right.
that's all there was.
Yeah.
If the Air Force base leaves that town is going to be a dead town. I mean, it's just, that's what is keeping it going. That's why we have a Walmart.
They did have a Walmart.
Yes. And
Mhm.
so when I got out of high school, I was more rebellious, I would say. I was very like, I want out of my mom's house. I want to do my own thing.
I
was
can't
trying
picture
to-
the side of you.
I was
I
trying
know
to be
you're
very
so like
independent.
meek and sweet.
I mean, but I at the same time, I just kind of wanted to do my own thing and be an adult. I felt like at 18, you're an adult, you know everything. I was very naive as a child or as an 18-year-old child. But I did get pregnant with my oldest daughter, Kinsley, and had her at 19. And then we ended up getting divorced at 21.
At 21, so y'all were together.
How long
for-
did you guys date before you got married?
3 months.
3 months?
You're 18.
okay.
love
Don't recommend
is
it.
love, you know?
Don't recommend it.
Love
I
first
thought I
sight.
was so in love, y'all. So
Was he older?
he was older, 2 years
Okay.
older than me.
Yeah.
So after the divorce, what did you do after that?
To be honest, I I was not in a good place when I got divorced. I was staying with my grandma in her guest room. I didn't have a job for a while. And then when I did get a job, I was making like $200 a week. Like it was really bad. I had a car, but I wrecked it and it was totaled. So then I didn't have a car. It's not funny. It was a bad time in my life.
It's okay. It worked out.
This is the character building stage of your life.
It really was. It was just a really low point in my life, but it really did make me so much more appreciative of what I have now.
And stronger, probably.
Yes, I learned a lot. I really did. At one point, I moved 2 hours away to the city, to Norman, Oklahoma City area. I was only there for about 4 months. And then when I moved back, Taylor and I had kind of been dating at that point. And when I moved back, we ended up moving in together.
And how old were you when that happened?
22.
22. Okay.
Yeah. 22.
And where were you working when you met Taylor?
When I met Taylor, I was working at a place called Factory Connection. I don't know if you know what that is. It's it's kind of like Ross, but very small, like way smaller than Ross. There's not a lot of them. And that's the one that I was a key holder.
Okay? Oh, wow.
So I was cool because I could take the key and lock the store up. But that's the one I was making like $200 a week. I mean, it was really bad. But I ended up moving to Norman and I went and I worked at a bar and grill as a waitress, on Campus Corner over by OU. And then when I moved back, I went and worked at Sally's hair supply. Yeah. So I worked there for about 2 years until we moved to Alabama.
And then how did you guys meet?
We met through mutual friends. So I had about 6 months or so, been divorced. And we had like this group of friends that we would hang out with on the weekends. On the nights I didn't have Kinsley, I would go hang out with these friends. And I noticed him with this group of guys that we knew one night in particular. And I was like, who is that cute blonde guy? And they're like, oh, that's
Taylor.
Dudley. they were like, that's Dudley. Let me introduce you. So that was actually the first night that he had gone out from getting back from his deployment. So that's why I had never seen him before because he had been deployed. So yeah, and then after that, we were just pretty much inseparable.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And so that was how many years ago?
10 years ago, 2014.
Wow. So you dated for how long before you guys got married?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Where were you deployed?
Afghanistan.
For how long?
Only like 6 months or so.
What was that like?
It wasn't that bad. It was kind of fun.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do for fun?
Played Rust. Do you know Rust?
No.
Oh, it was a game.
Wait. What's like a computer game?
Yeah, it was a computer game.
Oh.
Yeah.
He still plays that one.
Yeah, we had Wi-Fi.
What were you mainly doing there?
We were like, the mission was like, it's called like Guardian Angel mission. And so like these people would teach the Afghan military and stuff. And we would just stand around and make sure that either the Afghans didn't kill the people teaching the Americans, like the students, or people didn't come kill the students. And
wow. Did it feel like a tense environment when you were over there?
At first, just because I wasn't comfortable with it, but
right.
And maybe this was just complacency, but towards the end, I was really comfortable.
Yeah.
Was it culture shock for you, just being over there?
Oh yeah,
away from that long.
Yeah, the military does a good job of like bringing things in that make you feel comfortable. Like I said, I had Wi-Fi and I brought my laptop with me, and so when I wasn't working, which I mean, we did like a 6-in-1 schedule, so 6 days on, 1 day off, so I could play, video games or whatever. So
yeah,
they had an Xbox and stuff in there.
Are you still close with a lot of your like servicemen?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like the brotherhood side is like the big part, right?
It's really weird because
you're really missing out.
You make really good friends in that moment. Like I can think back to like every stage, like basic training and then tech school and then being at the base and being deployed. And I always had a friend that I was like super close with, like
right.
Call it battle buddy or whatever you want. Like I had someone that was like my friend.
Yeah.
But then the second you leave that stage and go to the next stage, you just like, I never talked to him again. Like every single time.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Do you think the military for you was like kind of there's almost like two different types of people? I feel like it's like the military for you was like, hey, I really want to go to school. This is a way for me to kind of serve my country and then be able to go to school. And then there's others that are kind of like, this is what I was born to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is my life. So do you think that like, because for you, it was more of just like a means to an end, it was just like a chapter in your life versus like others? I feel like other servicemen we talk to, they're like, where are me? Like they're my brothers. Like, like they're at my weddings and stuff like that.
You call that like high speed. Like those guys were high speed.
high speed.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So what does that mean?
That's just like they're like gung ho, like they're in it.
They're in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The high speed guys are like the ones that were like really into the military, which nothing against it, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just a different.
honestly, I'd say
type of-
that's better because you should try to be the best at everything you do. So
Yeah.
maybe being high speed was the way to go.
Yeah. That is so crazy.
Interesting. So then you guys got married.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then what brought you guys to Dallas?
When he graduated, he kind of applied all over, and he ultimately landed the job in Dallas. There were a couple in Dallas that he was kind of debating between, but ultimately the one that he chose was just the best offer that he had. Really, it was actually the only 2 offers you had were in Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
but he did apply to several areas, and this is just kind of where we ended up.
Can I ask you a more personal question? When you started dating Kay, were you intimidated or scared that she had a daughter before? Because you would become kind of like an instant stepdad.
I don't think so because we did take it so slow.
Yeah.
So, at first we were dating and we were both very standoffish and, we were like, maybe this will go somewhere, maybe it won't, and we'll try. And so I think because of that and because we dated for so long, it was a very like slow step process. It felt very natural. At no point was I like,
Yeah.
as a kid.
We also didn't let Kinsley meet him for
a
like
long time.
6 or 7 months.
Oh, wow.
I really wanted to be sure because, like I said, like I had jumped into something initially with my ex, and it was just I didn't want to go down that path again, and so I wanted to be sure before anybody met my daughter. And he was the only person I've ever introduced to my daughter, and he was great. I mean, from the get-go, they hit it off. I mean, they were just like little besties.
Mhm.
It's really sweet. I have some videos of them the first day, and we took her to feed the ducks, and he had her on his shoulders.
Aw.
She had just turned 3.
Okay.
So she's very little.
So she probably doesn't really remember much before you.
I've asked her, she said, I don't remember anything before Taylor. Like she only remembers Taylor.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that she really had like, and I know that she's close with her birth dad too,
Yeah.
but it's like, that's really cool that she had you as well, her entire life.
Like a bonus dad.
Like a
Yeah,
bonus
yeah.
dad. Yeah. Okay. So you guys got married, you moved to Dallas. How in the world were you working in Dallas?
I was.
What were you doing in Dallas?
I was a dental assistant.
Okay. How in the world did you go from dental assistant, electrical engineer to like one of the most famous TikTok couples ever in the world? Like how
Do you guys
in the
feel
world?
like that? Do you feel like a famous TikTok?
I mean, I've
couple?
hung out with you guys multiple times, and I gotta say, y'all are so down to earth.
We
I don't
really
feel
play
like
the
y'all
part
are
well.
TikTok famous. And then I like read that, and I'm like, oh my god, they have 10
I know. That's why
million
I was like
followers.
10 million. Wow. I was like, that's cool.
That's
Um,
huge.
I
But-
definitely feel like what is that when you don't
Imposter
feel imposter
syndrome?
syndrome
Yeah.
a lot. I don't feel like anything special. I just kind of feel like myself, how I've always felt. Obviously I make more like wiser choices these days, but I do feel just very normal.
Yeah.
Well, it happened really fast for
It
y'all
did.
too,
It
right? In the past 2 years, if I'm not
It's like
mistaken.
2.5 years.
It'll be 3 years in January.
3 years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to like even soak it in and realize what's happening because by the time you do, you've grown another 3 million followers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is so wild.
Yeah, it's happened very fast. But yeah, I just feel very thankful, very blessed. That's why I do so many giveaways because I just feel like I want to give back because I was in a place before we started this where, we didn't know how things were going to get paid. We were living in, a little rinky-dink rent house. I've been in hard times. And so I just like to give back and help because I don't feel like God's given me the success to just sit on it and like have it to myself. I
Mhm.
want to do as much as I can for others. And so
What do y'all feel like is like one of the core purposes of your platform? Like, you have 10 million followers. It's obviously been a huge blessing that God has given to you guys. Like, what do you guys kind of talk about and think about every day of like, this is why we're here. This is why we're doing it.
I think for me at least, and maybe it's different for you, but for me, I feel like I see all the time in the comments, like, especially when I'm doing like a big surprise or something for
Mhm.
Kay, like I'm going to do this for my wife or I'm going to do this for my girlfriend or something. And I feel like maybe it's a motivator to like have a healthier relationship or a better relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's great because I think like that's like the most important thing, really, if you think about it. Like, because you have to raise your kids right, and you have to do that together. You can't have like the single parent household raising the kid, because like the 2-parent household's like so important, And so if I'm like instilling in like the young people right now, like have a good, strong relationship, then there's got to be some crazy benefits down the road from that.
Yeah, it's cool because like as TikTok has kind of blown up, it's sort of created this like conveyor belt of content. So you're just scrolling. It's going to feed you this. It's very different than I would say like when we, kind of grew on Instagram, where it was like you had to almost like very intentionally decide who you were going to follow. And I think it's cool what you guys are doing because it serves up a sort of positivity on the conveyor belt versus what I typically get, which is not that. It's more like outrage or clickbait or rage baiting type of content. And so, what is y'all's demographic like? Is it
It's mainly women,
Definitely mainly women.
younger?
Kind of all over the place.
Really?
like baby having age mainly.
Is the main, but we definitely have a big younger audience on YouTube.
Yeah,
like YouTube Shorts
It
is
depends
a
on the
lot
platform.
Yeah.
like we'll be out in public and there's like 7-year-olds that'll recognize us. I mean, we have a very young audience base on YouTube, but then it definitely depends on the platform. I feel like Instagram is more like
It's a
that
lot older.
moms to older, like maybe grandmother's age. And then TikTok is definitely like teens to like young parents. Yeah. 20s.
That's really rare to be able to appeal to such a wide demo. I feel like it's because you have such a youthful energy to you. You could honestly be like 19 years old, and people
thank
are
you.
like, are like, oh, she's my age.
I've confused a lot of people.
Yeah,
they're like, you have a 13-year-old daughter? Like what?
Yeah, they have
like,
no idea.
Trust me, it's wild to me too, because
It's
she's like she wears my clothes. I
Yeah.
mean, when you were talking about Stella taking your things, I was thinking to myself, like, that's literally Kinsley. She'll come into my closet and be like, can I wear your shirt? And I'm like, Kinsley, I bought you the same shirts. Well, it's at my dad's.
Yeah, straight up,
gets
I
worse.
thought that was your sister. Like when y'all came
Aw.
over for the giveaway, I was like, oh, it's her sister.
Do you tell people how old you are?
Yeah.
How old are you?
32.
See, we're the same
See,
age.
I wouldn't have thought
We're the
that.
same age. You look like you're literally 19.
Oh my gosh. We are so
I'm
sweet.
so jealous.
I would have said like 24, 25 is what
Yeah.
my guess. I guess that timeline wouldn't have worked out with what you said, but yeah.
See,
that's what I guess.
as I've gotten older, I appreciate that. But when
Yeah.
I was a kid, like I was the late bloomer. I was not the one the boys liked because I looked like a child when everybody else was like looking all womanly,
Yeah.
and I didn't get to that point until later. And it was just something I hated when I was little. I hated how round my face was. I was like, I look too young. But as you get older, I think you appreciate it.
People
a lot
always
more.
tell you when you're younger, they're like, you're gonna
gonna
love it
love
one
it.
day.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I want boobs. And
It turns out they were right.
They were
Like who would have
right.
thought?
So when you guys got married and you started living together and everything, what did you guys see your life looking like?
before social media,
before social media, what was the 5-year plan?
I mean, for me, I always had the dream of being at home with my children, but at the same time, I had always dreamed of being in the medical field, particularly dentistry. I think at one point I wanted to go to be a dentist, but it was a lot of school. And by the time I got into dentistry, I felt like I was too old. And so I kind of settled with dental assisting, if I'm being honest. But I loved being in that field. So at that point, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to succeed and excel at being a great dental assistant. And I wanted him to obviously like go to school and do what he wanted to do. And I think what he wanted to do was engineering.
Yep.
And then really, I didn't anticipate having like a larger than life. I
Yeah.
guess I really just thought we were gonna have a very humble,
Have a little house, have a picket fence.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was my dream. I think that's a lot of people's dream, and I just really wanted to have like my little family, my house, buy a house one day, backyard, and work.
I might forget this question, so I want to ask you. Like, obviously, your lifestyle looks way different now. Do you guys miss that dream of just a more simple life in the kind of hustle and bustle and pace of what it means to be a content creator?
I think we keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. I feel like even though like obviously it's a little less simple than what we could have had, I guess. I do try to keep it as simple as, just raising my kid and doing fun things with the family. And
I didn't show up in a Ferrari, like
yeah.
Not yet.
No, I
I would say it's more the opportunities, like the
Yeah.
invites, the hey, fly here to do this.
Yeah.
It's probably
Oh,
that
yeah.
that typically, I think, for a content creator makes the life less simple.
Sure.
Like we
Yes,
struggle with
for
that a lot because if you truly want to keep your life simple, you have to say no
To all those opportunities.
far more than most people have to say
Right.
no, right? And so that's probably the hardest thing to protect, it feels like, to keep things simple is like, we want to be home as much as possible with our kids. Oh my gosh, but this is such a cool thing. It's once in a lifetime.
Are you good at saying no to opportunities?
Oh yeah. We say
I
no
feel like
a
we
lot.
say no to a lot, especially like brand deals and things like that. Because for me, I turn down so many things because if I'm not 100% behind it, then I don't want to share it to my audience. Because like I was on the other side at one point. Like I watched influencers and I watched their stories. And
I watched Danny Austin.
She's so different now.
Gosh. No, but I really did. Like I would be influenced by things, and sometimes I'd get it and I was like, this isn't that great, And so when I was given the opportunity to, share things I like to people, I really do 100% believe in what I share. So we turn down things all the time. I mean, people send us stuff and they're like, please, I want to work with you. And we're like, I just really didn't like the taste of that, or, whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
What about like extravagant trips to New York Fashion Week or concerts or things like that are just, they're so fun and it's such a cool opportunity, but a lot of times it doesn't really make sense with the everyday lifestyle of being a mom. I'm asking more so because I struggle with that. And there's all these fun opportunities. I'm like, I want to go and I want to speak on that panel and I want to do this. But at the same time, like those things also really exhaust me and wear me out, even though they're such great opportunities and I'm so thankful. How do you pick and choose kind of like the more extravagant trips and opportunities?
Kay's anxiety level.
My anxiety.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
I really do. I feel like if we're invited to big things like that, we tend to say yes because we see it as this is a dream opportunity.
Mhm.
Nobody out there, if they tell you they wouldn't do it, they're lying.
100%.
They would do it too. And we look at it as building our brand,
Mhm.
and it's an opportunity that, and not only that, but if it's something we take the kids on, it's another opportunity to travel. And that's something that we really didn't get as children, to travel and go places and see the world. And so I love that I'm able to give my kids that. And maybe it's not as simple as our life was growing up, but it's still amazing. And anybody would be doing it if they could.
Mhm.
That's how I feel on that.
So because we kind of glazed over this, how did y'all go from being a dental assistant, electrical engineer to posting content? What was the inspiration behind it and what was the first video?
I think it was him.
It
Taylor?
was. It was
He
a
did
mix.
it.
It was a mix.
Were you following influencers?
No. Kay,
Also, Kay, who did you follow? Who was your core
gosh.
rotation back in the day?
I don't know if I want to say.
Come on.
They'd be so flattered. You have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember
Um,
one. It was it wasn't their name. It was back in the day when OG influencers would have a blog and they would
Yeah.
have a
Yeah,
clever
yeah.
word and that would be, and they would
Yes.
transfer that to Instagram.
Yes.
It was something like Giddy
Oh.
Up Buttercup.
Oh,
or
Dress Up
something.
Buttercup.
Dress Up
I
Buttercup.
followed her. I followed. I did follow you.
Oh my gosh.
I will say. And then I followed like Daryl Ann and
Mhm.
all of them. I had a wide range of.
What about Emily? Probably Emily, because they were like really good friends.
I don't know if I followed
Champagne and
them.
Champagne.
Oh
Chanel.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's how I
Festival.
knew her by. It was Champagne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Champagne and Chanel.
Yeah.
She
How
was
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you followed like the OG,
The
like
OG.
Instagram
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
Bloggers,
Yeah.
kind of. Okay.
Yeah.
And then okay, yeah. So tell us about the first video, the first idea where you're like, I want to give this a shot.
So Kay had just gotten TikTok because
Well,
her friend at work.
I had another assistant I worked with, and she was like 10 years younger than me. She was like 19. And she was like, you need to download TikTok so I can send you all these funny TikToks. And I was like, I'm not downloading TikTok. And it took her like 3 months of convincing me. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll download it. And I wouldn't even say I was really hooked on it or anything. It was mainly so she could send me stuff. And then Taylor and we were coming back from Oklahoma from like a Christmas
Mhm.
thing.
At your
And
mom's.
so side note, something that Tay has done with my youngest brother, the one that I was 14 when my mom had him. Something that they've done every single year with Kinsley is make like this home video. And it's like it's like a movie, and it's a sequence. So there's been like 7 of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell a story. And so every holiday that we're there,
Like add on to it.
they add on to the story. And it's something that my mom and I get to sit and watch after 2 days of them working on it. And we like pop popcorn. It's just like a whole fun thing.
Cute.
So Tay had just finished editing that year's holiday movie, and he was like, I'm in the editing mood. I want to edit something. So I was like, well, why don't we just film our trip back, and we'll just film like, I don't know, random stuff, like going into a gas station. I mean, it was the most like random things. And
I thought it was going to be a hit. I was like, my 15-hour drive in 15 seconds. I was like, that's going to slap.
Like that title is so cool. And then I was like, well, we can just post it on my channel, and then, just see how it goes. And I think it got like 10 views or something. It was like,
so it didn't pop off.
It did not pop off.
pop off.
But it was so fun. And that was like at the very end of December. And then I think like 3 or 4 days went by, and then it was New Year's. And we were talking about New Year's resolutions. And I was like, that was really fun. Why don't we make a resolution this year to do 1 video a day? And just post 1 video a day and see what happens.
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Just to, because we had so much fun together doing it, even though it got no views. That really wasn't what it was for us. It was just something that we found like, oh, this is a hobby we can do together.
Mm-hmm.
And our family enjoyed it, like our parents. And it was very, very just silly and fun. And then I think after like a month, we started getting a little bit more traction on our views. Not anything like crazy. I mean, like I'm talking like 700 views or something.
Yeah.
And
which is a lot of people when you think about it.
It is. I actually he has a video of me sitting on the couch, and I was like, Tay, and I'm like refreshing it. And I was like, it has 200 views. It has 350 views.
One of them got 8,000 views. And she was like,
I was freaking out.
Do you know how many people that is?
That's a lot of people.
I was like, this is so crazy. And then, I'm trying to think. Oh, he asked me, how many followers do you think you want to have at the end of the year? And I was like, I don't know, maybe 10,000, but that's like a lot. I don't think we'll get that. And at the year mark, we hit 1 million.
Wow.
You are kidding me.
No, it was insane. It was actually crazy.
Did you even know what was happening? Like, when you started posting, were you like, oh, people like this type of content? Or were you just posting and it was working?
At first, I feel like we had no idea what we were doing. We just
For the
posted the
first
most
couple
random
months.
stuff. And then we kind of started realizing like, oh, this is the kind. I think we did like the acting like my wife's for a while. And so he would act like me, and those always
I've never
popped
seen
off.
that. I've never seen those from you.
gosh.
I mean, I've seen them online, but I didn't know that you did those.
And they did pretty good. They had like
did really
4 or 5 million on each.
They're so
Yeah.
funny. I love those.
Those are still like one of our most highly requested to bring back.
Really?
They're like, bring back the acting like my wife's.
And then what was remember when that series we had where Kay would always get packages. And so I would go down there, and it was, you ever seen those package lockers? Where
Yeah.
you and then you never know which one's going to open. You like put in your number or whatever, and then one of them randomly opens.
Yeah.
And so we'd play this game where Kay would put the number in, and then I would hold my head up against one of the doors and try to predict which one was going to open, so it would hit me in the face.
him in the face.
And we did that.
That one went really, really viral. I feel like that. And we did that one for a couple of weeks, or maybe even a couple of months. It was a while.
It was a series.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Wow.
But it really didn't turn into what it is now until, I don't know,
Pregnancy.
right before pregnancy, we started
Yeah.
filming more the way that we do now. But pregnancy
what
really.
year was everything you just said? What year was that?
2022.
Okay.
Yeah, 2022.
this is so recent.
Very recent.
It's so recent.
And then last year we were at 1 million, and then I got pregnant, and it went
Oh my gosh.
like up to 9 million.
Mm-hmm.
Last
So you
year.
transitioned to the type of content you're in now around 2023.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
they need to like run studies on y'all. like
Well, and
what
so,
exactly
yeah,
was
what was the
happening?
kind of catalyst for transitioning to that type of content? It just fit into your lifestyle
It was
better?
timing. It was so
We
much
had no
easier to
time.
just film randomly than to make some like
Skit.
Yeah,
over
skit,
yeah.
And
s-
really, I felt like we started building a really good community when people felt like they were getting snippets of our day and of our life,
Mhm.
especially like on Instagram. And I think that's why the pregnancy content did so well, is because people felt like they were on the journey with us, and the good, the bad, all the crying that I look back on, and I'm like, that was so cringy. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it was very real and very raw. And I was okay sharing that because I had so many people that would reach out and be like, I totally understand what you're feeling right
Right.
now. And that made it worth it to me, because I didn't want people to feel alone, because pregnancy is, I mean, it's a scary journey. Your hormones, I mean, you feel all kinds of stuff. And so I just really wanted other women to feel like they had somebody who could publicly tell others like this is normal, this is what's happening when you're pregnant. And I think that in the journey, following along the journey, really helped build up our community a lot.
Yeah.
So
I think that the reason I pointed at you and said I think it was you is so you guys were over here filming for a giveaway. I think it was like Daryl Ann, Danny, you, and someone else. And I watched you film that giveaway, and you were precise.
good.
So my thinking, it was kind of the first time I had ever been exposed to probably how much goes into a TikTok.
But also you really, because Jordan used to film all my content.
Yeah.
Like everything for 2 or 3 years. And whenever you started posting on TikTok, like I didn't even have the app, and he built us to almost 1 million followers.
Yeah.
Just taking all of my stuff. So I like when I saw you, he doesn't do it as much anymore because when we launched Divvy, he didn't have as much time.
Yeah.
But when I saw you doing it, I was like, oh, this is deja vu. Like
Yeah.
I remember these days.
But what was so interesting to me is that when we did it, it was like it was photos. Like 2017 was all about like Instagram photos. And then they launched I think it's dead now, IGTV.
You were big
which
on
was
that.
like long form, and I loved that because like I loved editing just like you love editing.
He
And
loved it.
I loved creating stories and like getting people engaged, but it was more long form because that was when Instagram was like, hey, we're going to compete with YouTube. So then that died out, and then Instagram stories came about, and we got really good at that, and we just like learned how to integrate it into our lifestyle in a very like real way, which is I think what you guys
we didn't
did.
even plan the content. It was just the whatever happened that day.
And then Reels came out, and I think that for me, it was hard to comprehend like that attention spans were going to go plummet down. So I was like always trying to fit, like I was like mad at Reels because I was like, I can't fit what I want to say in 60 seconds. So when you guys came over and you were leading the charge on filming this giveaway, I was like, okay, this is a reel. This is going to be like 30 seconds. And you like, I don't know if you remember this, but you like knew how to kind of micromanage almost every second of where people were going to fall off at every moment. So like there was a time where they were like explaining or showing off the prizes, and you were like, there needs to be something in the shot that like catches their attention. So I think that someone like threw dollar bills down. And so I agree with y'all's story that I think that you guys found a really natural, like amazing way to capture your lives. But I think that there's a little bit more of a science and engineering to it.
Yeah, for sure.
That I don't think you get credit for, but I want to use this podcast to give you credit for. So at what point did you start really kind of like diving into the science of editing and attention span?
Like a few months in, I like started getting into communities and
So
stuff.
2022?
Yeah, it was in 2022. So during that 0 to 1 million stage.
What communities?
Yeah, like
Say
Discord
more.
groups and things
Really?
like that. Yeah. Other creators that are trying to figure it out too. And yeah, I got into communities and
Don't give away your secrets, but like what kind of things
Or
would
do.
y'all or do?
Honestly, they probably don't even work anymore because it changes so fast.
It does change. You have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
and
help us
changes.
understand, like, I think people will be really interested in like what the conversations looked like in these Discord communities at the time. Is it like, hey, I got 1 million views by clipping it at this second mark, or doing like 2-second intervals? Like what's some of the vernacular around those Discord groups?
so like Danny said, it changes so much. So now the strategy is like dead that we had figured out. But we had figured out at one point, like on TikTok specifically, if you got to this certain view count at this certain amount of time, and like your ratios, like your share ratios, your like ratios and all this stuff was good enough, it would just go up.
Skyrocket.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so you would be like trying to figure out like in the video itself, like how do I edit this? How do I zoom, whatever, to get the like ratio and everything, to that point.
Did it have to do with a drop off time? So like, hey, if I can keep them engaged for, and it's so crazy we're saying this because YouTubers are like, can I keep them engaged for a minute? TikTokers are like, can I get them for 3 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the second?
Yeah, what was the second time frame you had
it was
to hold them
rough.
to?
I think, well, it was more of how the average person completes. So it was like how you needed like 50, 60% of the average person to watch the entire video. And like, it didn't matter the percentage that fell off as long as at the end of the line, you were at around 50%.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
It's changed so much now, but Danny, you'll kind of get this. I think the biggest way for us that we found is the idea. Like if you have a good enough idea, you know this because you did YouTube.
Mhm.
If you have a good enough idea, you can have a really boring video and like the idea itself propels the video.
100%. It's always it was always for me at least the most mundane. I feel like when you tried too hard, it like wouldn't make it. But if it was just like if it was a unique topic that was mundane, like I don't know how to.
Well, it's very much like YouTubers and like this is like Mr. Beast is famous for this. It's like you have to know the thumbnail before you know anything else. And so
we always had the thumbnail and the title to our YouTube videos before we ever even filmed the content. We wouldn't even know what the content was going to be, but you liked the title and the thumbnail.
But how do you apply that to what you guys do? Because y'all's is such real life that you can't, I guess you can kind of have an idea going into the editing. So like, hey, like I think that this is kind of what the story is going to shake out to be.
Or do you know going into the filming?
It's a mix. So like, for example, I might have a video that Kay and I think is really funny of Ellie doing this.
Yeah.
How do I turn that into something that's going to get 20 million views? And so then I'm like, okay, well, I need that first clip needs to have a certain text. And it could say anything. It could say Ellie's doing a lip thing, but like, who's Ellie? First of all, so all those people that don't know Ellie, they're not coming in.
Right.
So now it's our daughter, and like Kay's now my wife, and you know, like, and I'm like broadening and making it more generic. So that's like one piece of it, and then it's like, where do we start? Like we filmed this moment, and we have this moment. Where do I start the video, to where people are going to actually see this cute thing happen? And so then it's finding that point in our filming that makes sense. It's just all those little details.
It's like a puzzle. Like I think that's what the fun of editing is. That's why I used to love to do it. Is like you're trying to take all this raw footage and piece it together into a puzzle that will make sense to someone who's never watched it before. It really is like the artfulness of editing.
Why do you think y'all's videos that are so personal about your day-to-day get so many shares?
Maybe it's like relatability. Like Kay's really good at just showing herself. And I think a lot of people are like, I go through that exact same thing. And, you know, other people aren't sharing that.
And
yeah.
boyfriends, like, do this for me, you know, all the surprises and things that we do.
That's another part. Like, so we have like the random moments that, because we film every day, you know, you do stories, you end up with so much footage and you're like, which one's actually going to go on the story? Right. And we do that, except we have one more element and we're like, which one's good enough to be a reel? And then take that off and we're not going to put that on our story. And that's going to be a reel.
Yeah.
But then you also have the planning aspect of like for example, our 8-year wedding anniversary. Like I had already planned for a month. Like I know what I'm going to do like for Kay and like that surprise, you know what I mean? And like, so I like filled the room up with balloons and like hid the presents in the bedroom. And so like, it's kind of like I was saying, the ideas too. You have to have those ideas ahead of time. And
totally. Yeah, no, I mean, we know that whole, it's kind of weird because the life of a content creator, you end up realizing that the job is your life and your life is your job. And so what was very odd, and I think what burnt me out, you know, probably a year or two ago before Divi even.
R.I.P. He used to help me film.
Well, so
I miss those days.
To be honest, what burnt me out was like us having kids, because when it was just us, it was so fun to create these moments and it was like we were a team doing it. But when we had kids, I really felt like, and I think that in the same way that you are really good at the TikTok side, I think I was really, really good at like the Instagram story and just Instagram side in general. Like I really understood the science and the artfulness in that era. But what I realized was like, man, I feel like I'm contriving our lives and, you know, to a certain extent, like with our kids, right? And so when our kids were really young, it just psychologically, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. Like I really struggled being like, okay, like am I planning this moment for
not when our kids were really young, is when they started to get older.
Yeah, sorry. When they started to get older and like we're cognizant of like what was going on, I started to have a moral dilemma in my mind. And I think that you guys are doing it really well, to be clear. But I think a lot of creator couples and families go through this where it's like, am I creating this moment for content or because it's like truly authentic to what my daughter or my wife want in the moment? And I struggled through that. Like, and I'm curious, like, do you guys ever feel like you struggle with just that natural nuance of being a content creator?
I think for now, it's very natural. Like you were saying, it was natural in the beginning. We've talked in the past about, you know, when Ellie gets old enough, if she's disinterested, you know, we'd probably just put her, you know, like she wouldn't appear in the content as much, you know? And because at the end of the day, like you said, it's our life. Like, and so if it's not fun, then that would suck because you have to do it every day. You know, like I put a video out every single day. And there's a difference between editing something that I'm really excited about and enjoy and a moment that I like, I'm enjoying rewatching. And then like, I hate to say it, but like sometimes I do branded content and I'm not enjoying it. And I'm like, I got to chug through this.
Yeah, because it's part of the job. Yeah. Do you guys, so the dynamic I feel like is happening is probably similar to ours, where y'all film during the day and then you're probably with the kids and then you go into your cave.
Yeah.
And you probably edit until, you probably edit until like what? 12?
I like 11 o'clock.
So we kind of have like a good thing going right now. It always hasn't been like this. It's really been since we've been able to get Ellie on like a good routine.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes down at 7. Like if it's any later than 7, she is not having it. Like she's unhappy. So if we put her down at 7, we kind of use the evenings right now as like our us time to just really not film, not do anything. Like we just hang out together, whether that be like playing a video game together or whatever it may be. But we do that together. And then usually he'll edit like in the mornings. In the AM right now. So
interesting.
Yeah. So
it's the first thing I do. I wake up and I edit.
Do you feel creative in the morning?
Yeah. After coffee and everything, I'm
during
like
the day, I think.
I could never edit at night. Never.
He used to.
Kind of an odd bird.
He used to.
Because I feel like editors are typically, they'll go in a cave at night and that's where they get their kind of like creative second wind.
Well, I think for me, it wouldn't work if like Kay isn't around me when I edit. I do go off on my own and do.
Same.
And that has to be that way. If Kay will come in and ask me a question, I'm like, Kay, I'm in the zone.
Yeah,
like,
I totally feel that. I would like literally take my phone and I'd be like, okay, bye. Like family vacations, I just disappear. They'd be like, "Where's Jordan?" And it's like, "Oh, he's probably editing."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was literally in labor, and I swear the nurses were probably like, "Gosh, this absent husband over here." But I was like telling Taylor, I was like, "Do not stop editing. We have to have that video today."
Yeah, he's like, "No, this is gonna slap."
Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm like, "You go do your thing. Like, leave him alone."
Yes, I am very supportive of him just doing his thing as long as it takes, and then I'll just take Ellie, Kinsley, and go do our thing and not bother you.
It's so funny because it's like, this is just such like a inside baseball story, but it's like, I think I, even in our family, kind of got this reputation. Like when we go on family vacations with our extended family, I got this reputation of like, oh, like he's not present or he's not interested. And I really was. And like, we would be able to watch this like content back. And it was like such a fun, I don't mean this in a bad way, manipulated view of like what happened, but it was a more beautiful, like wholesome view of it. And it was like, I was so proud of not what actually happened, but like the recreation and the storytelling of it, But it caused me to get this reputation in our family of like, oh, like he doesn't care. And I'm really,
like, it's a job. Like doctors go off when they're on call, mom. He's just editing. Like it's a job.
And again, part of the dichotomy of just like the burnout that I think that I particularly experienced is I was like, man, like I want to be like, if we're on family vacation, like I want to be there,
Okay. I want to ask y'all a question. What is it challenging working together? And if so, what is the biggest challenge, especially filming and editing together?
I don't think it's a challenge. And I think we do something that we did accidentally at first, but it ended up working is Kay has ideas in her head for videos and I have ideas and we don't talk to each other about those ideas because it would ruin it. Like if I tell Kay I'm going to fill our room with balloons, well, like it's not going to be.
My reaction's not going to be as genuine if I.
And so we don't really talk about content
Smart.
ever. Kay doesn't even get on social media most of the time. I mean, especially not TikTok or YouTube. Like she really only uses Instagram. And so like we have this thing that we're doing every day and it's like full-time, job and all these hours and all this stuff, but we don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
Like,
so you're saying you don't fight?
No.
We definitely have
disagreements,
but not about
Yeah.
content.
What do you fight most about these days? Well, I mean, we fight about all the time, so I'm just curious.
What was
trying
our
to think, like,
most recent
one.
argument? Let's see.
Is it
I thought Kay was going to be mad because it ended up not being a fight, but I really thought she was going to be upset because I got this thing yesterday and it was a smoke machine.
Oh my gosh.
And I was going to surprise Kay with a boo bath. And I ordered all this stuff on Amazon and it came in and I have like this corner where I put my stuff and Kay just doesn't go over there. It's like I keep them in the boxes and I leave them over there.
Yeah.
And so Kay was doing something with Ellie and I carried everything up and I set up this bath and I accidentally bought like an industrial smoke machine that you would use in like a haunted house. And I put it in our shower and I was expecting to just fog the shower up a little bit because I had this funny joke that I was like, I thought Kay would really like. And so I turned it on and it filled the entire room to the point where you couldn't see
You
anymore
could
with
not see in
smoke.
front of you. It was
And I was
so
thinking to
bad.
myself the entire time I was setting up the rest of the bath, I was like, Kay's gonna walk in here and she's gonna be like, what have you done?
Yeah.
You didn't.
No.
But I really thought that was gonna be something.
Yeah.
I thought it was I thought it was intentional. Like I thought you were wanting it to look like a haunted house.
It
Yeah.
was so
It was really
smoky.
cool.
It took so long to go away afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
So it's not content that you guys. First of all, I'm friends with a lot of, like, I would just call them Instagram husbands, but I think they're similar, like creator husbands or whatever. And I find that the best dynamic that keeps marriages strong in this space when your brand is like y'all as a couple is like very defined swim lanes of like, hey, I do this, you do that. And I think that, like, Danny and I had to figure out like where we trust each other and where we like.
Well,
are
I can tell
comfortable to
you where we
delegate.
fought the most with when it came to content is when he ever posted, and if he ever posted anything that I didn't approve first. Because I like sometimes, especially because there's so many different platforms, but maybe like, let's just say it had something to do with like breastfeeding. And I knew that I wanted to stop breastfeeding in a week. And then maybe he would post something and be like, I love breastfeeding. I'm like, that's not true. Like, I hate breastfeeding. And you just told everybody that I like it. And like, if we would have sat down and like, I know that you're going off and editing on your own. And maybe I had told him that I liked breastfeeding 2 weeks prior, but like, that's not where my mind is at now.
Right.
And so it was things like that we would fight over. Cause I'm like, why didn't we just run this content by me?
Yeah, I don't like to be managed though.
Well,
Like
see,
I would always roll the dice and I'd be like, you know what?
So
I
do
was
y'all
like,
I'm the
ever-
opposite. I give not only the videos every time to her, but then I give the caption too. And she
I-
approves it and
I
spell
approve
checks
caption.
it. Because
I
we would
You're a
have
better
the,
husband than
she
me.
would get upset sometimes because I'd have all these typos and she'd be like, you can't
That- I
change
did
it.
get
It
upset
makes
with
me
that.
seem like such an idiot by
I
the way
know.
he spells
because
things.
sometimes because we're a couple and we're posting on a couple platform, like people don't always know if it's me or him talking.
Yeah.
And if he
all
puts all these typos, I'm like, that makes me
So when I
look
put peace
like
of
I don't know
mind,
how
but
to
I spelled
spell.
it PIECE instead of PEACE.
Taylor, I would have strangled you. I would have been so mad. I'm like,
So
because I'm
Peace
like,
of mind.
I know how to spell and he's a horrible speller. And I'm like,
Exactly.
you're making me look so dumb. Or
Exactly.
like just like sometimes even the way he doesn't post for me anymore, but like we kind of used to be more of that couple content as well. And like the way he would block, like put the text covering the whole thing. I'm like, you're covering my shoes. Like,
Oh yeah,
things
you're
like
like, no,
that.
you need to move the text up a little bit.
And then I
Yeah, for
shrink
sure.
the video and make like a border. And Kay's like, I hate that.
Ugh,
Do
why'd
not
you
do that. And I'm
shrink
like,
it?
I
It's
want to
the
see
little
the whole
things like that.
thing.
It's
If you
the
ever
little things
sing
like
it,
that.
see it shrunk on our stories, it's because
It's
he did it, and I
me.
cannot stand
But
it.
like, how am I supposed to show your shoes? Because we didn't film it right. And so
Seriously.
It's so funny.
I'm
It's like if you're in the business, you know all these nuances. Like I bet if I watched y'all's stories or watched your TikTok, I'd be like, that has Tay written all over it.
Yeah.
That has Kay.
well, I don't
written
know.
all
It
over
sounds like y'all are more collaborative than Jordan was willing to be. He was
I'm-
not willing to listen.
my biggest. I'm not a collaborative person. I'm
Oh,
a
no.
terrible collaborator.
It makes it really hard to
Yeah.
create content together.
So y'all don't fight over content.
I'm like, we're fighting now.
Like, this is why I quit.
This is why we have a podcast now. That's so true. Okay, so I want to ask, what is your favorite platform? You said you're on Instagram most. What is your favorite platform to create content on? And what is the most, what is the word, lucrative? Yeah.
My favorite is Instagram, hands down. I love the story aspect. I love that we can share just very raw, like, I don't know, like there's no editing that goes into stories. You
Stories.
just
Yeah.
kind of post your day. I really
She's like,
do.
yeah.
It's the best.
I love stories. But I also love like that. I feel like we have more connection with our
Mhm.
community on
Yeah.
Instagram. Not that we don't have a great community on the other ones, but I just feel like Instagram
It
gives you a
flows
way that you can just communicate with everybody. Because I'm one of people always ask me, they're like, why do you go through your DMs? Like, you should not be going through your DMs. But I go through my DMs and I reply to a lot of DMs because I feel like, okay, there's a reason this person sent this to me. They want me to see this, whether it's advice or whatever. I love being able to reply to some of those people. But yeah, I love the community. Instagram's hands down. I can't even tell you the last time I was on TikTok, like scrolling through.
Mm.
Like I get on for my page, but I don't scroll through
Why?
TikTok at all. I don't know. The content well, for one, we share. And so the content he watches is not really interesting to me. So the FYP
it's just
page
like all
is
video
just,
games and stuff on
it's
our
just
FYP.
not interesting. But then if you like on Instagram, that's where I scroll. And so it's all the stuff I like to watch. So I go on Instagram and he does TikTok.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys about like the community and the differences in your TikTok community and your Instagram community. So one of the things that like there's no exact formula to this, but it's kind of a feeling. I have always felt that if you have, and I'm just going to put random numbers to this, if you have 500,000 followers on Instagram and they're very engaged with your stories and you have a meetup at a mall, I think that you could have more people there than someone who has 3 million followers on TikTok and even gets good views, right?
Well, is that true? Do you feel that way?
It depends.
I do.
So
I do.
a couple of extra aspects. How long have you had the 500,000 followers and 3 million
True.
followers?
Are they newer followers?
Like if you
Are
did
a
you
newer
if you have
account?
500,000 followers that you've sat on for 7 years, or is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, that's a real. So what are other variables that would factor into
The
this?
reason I say this is because on TikTok, no one unfollows. So if you have 3 million followers, you could have gotten a bunch of followers a long time ago,
Mhm.
and no one unfollows. So you just have them on
Mhm.
Instagram. You're constantly battling the unfollow rate. You probably know.
That's so true.
And you're churning followers at all times.
Yeah.
And so in that case, yeah, 500,000 meetup probably, because you've held 500,000 followers for however long and churned new followers. And the person with 3 million, unless they just got it like right then, they're probably old and they may not even be active anymore.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So that's a really good point about TikTok, that you're not losing followers. People don't typically unfollow. They say like if you have 20% of your following on Instagram super engaged, like that's really good.
Mhm.
Is there like a percent ratio on TikTok that is really good?
Probably, but Kay and I just shoot for 1 million views on every video.
Okay.
That's like our happy point. We've never raised that bar. We've always just said, if every video gets 1 million views, then we're happy.
Do you feel like if you shared a meetup that you were going to do in Dallas just on TikTok, you would have as much of an audience come as if you did it on Instagram?
Mm-mm.
So you feel like Instagram is more powerful in creating that really engaged audience?
Or at least for a local audience, for sure.
So going back to the other question, which do you feel like nowadays is more lucrative, and what do you feel like will be more lucrative in the future?
I don't know about the future aspect of it. I think TikTok is, well, it's hard for us now because, like you said, we have the audience on all the platforms. And so they bundle the deals.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so
as far as
it's-
brand deals go, I feel like it's definitely bundled.
TikTok was always really, like back when we did it ourselves, TikTok was always the best platform.
lucrative wise.
Yeah. But nowadays, I don't know, because they put it all together into a package. And
So what about like conversion rate though? Because some brands probably like to measure exactly how many sales you're getting or clicks you're getting. Now you can, I'm still like out of the loop with TikTok, but you can put a link on TikTok now, right?
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Oh,
You
I
can-
don't know.
Oh, well, TikTok Shop.
Yeah, TikTok.
I'm like,
Shop.
you would know better than I would.
Yeah. So I always told brands like, if you want exposure,
Yeah.
like TikTok's great for that.
Yeah.
And then if you want, clicks, then Instagram. You
Like
go to-
sales.
Yeah.
Then
Sales or Instagram for
That's
sure.
what we're finding on the Divvy side. I think like that's why I'm so curious, because I think every brand had this like FOMO effect, right? Where it was like, oh my gosh, we've got to work with these TikTokers. They're getting so many views. I think that we're close to, if not there, where we're at the leveling out experience, where it's like brands have devoted a lot of dollars to TikTok and they realize that they get a ton of impressions, but it's not the same conversion or ROI as like working with an Instagrammer on Instagram stories, which is probably why they're bundling with you guys. Is like, hey, give us the views over here, give us the conversion over here.
I don't know. I kind of like struggle with that because I think that there's so many brand deals on Instagram that it's so hard to trust people. And so I feel like the conversions are happening from TikTok. They just can't track them back.
It could be.
I just feel like it's like, I'm so sick of seeing like the same brands 24/7. Like I want to know like, what mascara are you really liking? Like what do
Exactly.
you actually use? And when you're just doing a get ready with me on TikTok and I'm like, she didn't even talk about it. I just saw it sitting there. Like I'm going to go buy it at, Albertsons.
because she didn't talk about it.
Because she
Yeah.
didn't talk
Didn't
about
put it in
it.
your
So
face.
that's why I want to buy
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
So I do feel like it's like just kind of more challenging to measure on TikTok. But
What TikToker do you guys feel like has the most engaged TikTok audience outside of y'all?
See, that's hard for both of us because I don't
I
scroll.
don't do a lot of TikTok.
I mean, I scroll TikTok for entertainment, but I don't
Yeah.
scroll my brain's not turned on when I'm scrolling
Right.
TikTok. Biggest following. Keith Lee has a really like,
is he the food one?
he's the one that does the food.
one.
And
He
I know
does
this
have a really good
because
one.
when he goes to places, like everyone comes to see him, right? And it
Yeah.
could just be the way he's filming his content. You know, maybe he shows the
Keith
big
Lee effect.
maybe he
Keith
shows
Lee.
the big audiences so that it gives the impression that there's big audiences. And you know, if you want to be in a video, so next time he's in my town, I'm going to go. And maybe that's why. But it appears that he has a really, you know.
Do you guys use TikTok Shop?
No. Well, I did one
What's
time.
the culture around TikTok Shop? Like why? Because brands are really starting to go there. I'm curious why some of the bigger influencers are not
Fear.
using it.
You know, like on Instagram when a new feature comes out and you're like, I don't know if I want to touch that because what if it hurts my channel somehow?
Yeah.
TikTok's like that, but like tenfold.
It's
Like
very
there's
unforgiving.
stories on TikTok, but I won't use it because what if the analytics from that story affects my reels, like the overall analytics of my
Interesting.
reel, and then hurts my reel performance?
It's like you guys have this really good thing going.
I'm
You're
not
like,
I'm
I'm
not
not
trying
touching it.
to mess
It
anything
ain't
up.
That's why you don't see big
fix it.
channels doing
Yeah.
TikTok Shop because they are
It's
not
scary.
touching.
Yeah,
it.
like Alex Earl does not do TikTok Shop. Like
That's what
all
I was going to
these-
say. That's
Is
when you
the
asked me the
engaged-
last question. Yeah.
She is
Alex.
Tiana Robillard. I think she's gonna be like
She's the one with the
TT?
bag.
TT. Yeah.
No,
I don't know
that's
if I
Tia
know this
Booth
one.
probably.
Oh, okay.
Tiana Robillard
I don't
was she's good friends with Alex Earl.
Yeah, I think she's just
Okay.
a hard worker. She's rising to the top. Like I think she's super smart. Like she
Mhm.
actually worked for Dare Land at
Oh, okay.
Nudes.
Oh, okay.
She like understand. Like I think she's gonna be a big deal.
I like her.
Yeah.
Does she use
I'm gonna
TikTok
have to
Shop?
search her up. After
She
this.
did once. So she did a. I think I've talked to this about this on the podcast, but she's the first person that I have seen.
Oh, she just did, and it was so good.
It was
how
perfectly-
organic she was.
Oh my gosh, it was so organic, and I was like that link
Was
converted
it to the
so
jeans or what was
well.
it?
The camo pants.
The camo pants.
I was
yes.
like, dude, she just slung some camo pants.
Oh
with
man,
that.
I almost bought them, and those don't usually get me.
It was so just like nonchalant, like, oh, you guys have been asking a LinkedIn TikTok Shop. That was it, and I was like, that's gonna make people buy.
Yeah.
Like you're so smart.
Doesn't even
Yeah.
describe them. She's just like,
She just doesn't describe them. She was like, yeah, and like she wore them a ton, and like
it
a
seemed
lot
like
of
she
her.
was really serving me. Like she was helping me
Yeah.
out. This wasn't about her.
She was
This
like your
about
friend.
Me. Like
Yeah.
she was like she got my back, and I was like, and then I think it's too. It's like when people do that, they just sprinkle it in there. Like you're like, I want her to get the commission. Like I want her to be successful.
Yeah.
You know,
no, that's how. I
when you see these links 24/7, you kind of get like a little annoyed. But when they don't do it often, you're like, you
No.
get the bag, girlfriend.
That's what I
Yeah.
think. I think a lot of these TikTokers are going to discover TikTok Shop, and I think it will be kind of like when Instagram mommy bloggers discovered Instagram stories. And I think if the feature
or LTK or something.
yeah.
Okay, let's go into some maybe misconceptions. Actually, this isn't really a misconception. It's more, I'm actually just personally curious. How did you feel about moving to Dallas? You're technically in Dallas now, the Dallas mommy blogger community.
So far, I've loved everyone I've met.
Aw.
Like genuinely, I really do like the community that is built up here. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience meeting other groups. Like I know there's like a Nashville group, and but I feel like I'm so proud to be in Dallas with all of these girls because I just really think so many of you guys have been so successful and like such an inspiration to some of us newer content creators. So yeah, I love it.
That's so good.
I
That's
love
how I
everyone.
feel about the Dallas mommy blogger community too.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone is so supportive. At the same time, we all are prioritizing our families, so we're not hanging out every single weekend.
Right.
Like I wish that we could because we're all so busy. But it's like when we do have those moments, like we want to get together and we want to support each other. And so
Mhm.
I'm glad that you're feeling the same way that I do. If
feel like
anybody comes for
everybody's-
you tell me.
I
I'll
feel
beat them up.
I will tell them. But I feel like everybody's so genuine too.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, like when you're on the other side of things, like you don't know like if that person's really like that. And then when you meet them in person, like when I came to Stratton's birthday party.
Mhm.
And to be honest with you, when we left, I was like, did you know all those people were like on Instagram and stuff? And he was like, no, like everybody was just so normal.
Yeah.
Everybody was so real and genuine and normal
Yeah.
that I had no idea. Like, I mean, some of them obviously I knew who they were, but there were several that I had no idea. And I ended up following them after because I didn't even know that they were on
Yeah.
there. And I just thought they were just the most kind people.
Mm.
And they welcomed me, even though
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of like the new guy.
Yeah.
But I did feel very welcomed, and I loved that.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps each other grounded. And I think kids keep you grounded too. You can
Oh, yeah.
never get a big head when you have a
Yeah.
kid. I walk into Stella's bedroom and she's like, Mommy, you're so big today. And I'm like, thanks. I actually
Thanks.
felt like I was looking pretty good, but
Right.
wow.
Right. It's so funny.
Okay, let's see. Have you guys ever been canceled? I've been canceled twice. So there you go. I'll tell you first. Actually,
feel
at
good
this
about
point,
that.
I've probably been canceled 7 times. Like, it's like, that's why I also don't get on TikTok as much, because I figure out all these things that I'm doing wrong that I didn't even know I was doing wrong. Instagram just seems a little bit more, like they'll DM you something mean, but
Mhm.
TikTok, it's like all the Jordan
The
calls them the
talking
talking head videos
Those are the
where
worst.
they're always like calling you out. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that I, strapped her wrong in the car seat or
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
like,
Yeah.
um,
They're brutal. over
yeah,
there.
I
TikTok's
feel like
brutal.
Y'all don't
They are.
have a lot of talking head videos.
I
though.
feel like,
We have a few.
yeah, we have a few,
We
but
you
have-
do?
Hey,
definitely
that's
have a
good.
few.
That's when you know that you're doing well, though. Like, you got to have some hate.
You
on
gotta
it.
have
that is
haters
like
if you're
what's
gonna succeed.
crazy about, we talk about this a lot, like if we would have gone through the hate wave, like we call the hate wave like 2020 era, because
Mhm.
just everyone was mad.
Well,
on
I
the
was
entire
canceled in
Everybody's
internet.
angry.
2018.
Yeah. And so, but if
Good
TikTok
times.
was around at that point, because you create these talking head videos, then those go viral. And then people create more because it's a strategy
Mhm.
than to hate you.
Yep,
So it is a
exactly.
very vicious platform.
It is.
So
it is, yeah.
have y'all gone through the talking head videos?
We had a period where there's a lot of people talking.
Ugh.
But I feel like saying like, were you canceled? Like it makes people think like they think actually they have the ability to cancel you, but you actually
Totally.
You
can't
cannot give
cancel
them that.
anyone that keeps posting.
Yeah.
Unless the
You're not
platform
canceled
itself.
if you're doing what you were doing.
You're true. I'm still here.
Exactly.
I'm
so
not
when you said you
canceled.
were canceled so many times, I was like, but you're doing so much.
Yeah,
you're
you're
not
right.
canceled.
You're
not
right.
canceled.
Well, I guess, okay, I have to be honest. When I was canceled, the word canceled wasn't even really a thing. That was like very new.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if I was actually canceled or not. Like, I didn't know if I would make a comeback. And
Yeah.
like now I feel like enough people have been canceled that anytime that I feel like, oh, it's happening again, I'm like, it'll be fine. Like, at
It'll
the end
blow
of the day,
over.
like everything is okay.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe I've made some mistakes from my past. That was so long ago. Like, you grow so much in just a year that I'm just
Yeah.
like, everybody, you
They
know.
don't try and cancel you from posting. They try and cancel your will,
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the funniest
your
part is
mental state.
Yeah.
our,
They try
we had
and
so
break
many
you.
views during our like cancellation or whatever that we had, like the past cancellations. It's like I made more money when everyone was talking bad about me.
Oh, the views were
keep
crazy
it coming,
good.
keep it coming,
I mean,
please.
Yeah.
It's
We had
so
so many
hard to
people.
have that perspective, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like, it actually does kind of help you grow. And
Yeah.
it puts you on the map. Like, I had never been written about by People magazine, and all of a sudden I was in there and I was like, Mom, look, we made it.
You put it on your wall.
I'm like, then at first it took 2 weeks of
Frame
crying
it.
in bed. And then I was like, but wait a minute. I was in
Right.
People magazine.
Exactly.
That's pretty
Just
cool.
put me on the map.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. What does
You guys
What-
play video games together.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I remember you telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I feel like that's
Danny-
something that I can't get a lot of other women like to relate to me on that. I feel like I'm so like weird.
She's
Yeah,
good.
what do you
Okay,
play?
I
What do you
used
We're
to-
play?
playing PUBG right now.
I used to play some games. See.
You like play like shooter games.
She plays real
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, I do. Okay, but to be fair, it was just something I started so that I would have something to do with Tay, and like I knew how much he enjoyed it, and I didn't want to be one of those wives that was like, get off your video game, like because I knew he thoroughly enjoyed it. Like that was
Yeah.
his wind down, that was his decompression, is
Yeah.
to get on his game, and I wanted to be able to enjoy that with him. And so I think it was a joke at first. He was like, "You play with me," and then I actually enjoyed.
She gets
Nice.
into
Do you like
it.
have a headset and everything?
I have a whole
we have
like
matching setups.
gaming
I'll have to
setup
show you
now.
a picture.
Wait, so
Wait, Kay,
you know
why
when
are you not
talk in those chat
streaming?
rooms?
That's what everyone says.
Why are you not
I
streaming?
know.
You would
'Cause I'm
make
not
s-
good.
You would kill it.
I'm
But I feel
horrible.
like it doesn't matter. I feel
You
like
don't
you just
have
have
to
to
be
look cute while you're playing games.
Yeah. A lot of people have suggested it.
We
And
have the whole
we-
setup.
We
Everything
might do
you would
it one
need.
day. I don't know.
Maybe if you ever get like burnt out of creating the relatable content and you're like, I just need a break from my personal life, you could go into that.
Yeah, I'm definitely the gamer that like they'll be like, he's behind you, and I turn the opposite way.
Yeah.
Like I'm not good. I'm never gonna claim to be good, but I do enjoy it.
Well,
Like, it's
honestly,
fun.
like, and I'm just so curious if y'all feel this, like females in game chats and like, if you're actually like talking, I feel like when females play in these games, like the culture's pretty ruthless in the gaming
They're
culture.
mean.
Yeah.
It's super
They're
mean.
so mean to women. It's true.
Yeah,
Or
it's
they
real
think I'm a
bad.
little boy. Because,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that hasn't hit puberty. I
Yeah.
get that all the time.
We've been
Like,
playing
who's
this game.
12-year-old boy.
We've been playing this game where you're like in an office and you have to try to figure out
Dale and Dawson.
Dale and Dawson. Yeah.
So fun.
And you have to try to figure out which ones are the slackers. Like think like Among Us, but like repackaged. And the men on that are so horrible.
Oh, I bet.
Vile.
And
Vile.
they all like role play as they're in the office. So they're like, yeah, it's just the worst.
It's not actually mean. It's like vile.
It's
Yeah.
very
You've
vile.
probably heard things about like said to you that you're like, because they're protected from anonymity. Like they don't,
Yeah.
they can say
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
Babe, try and think of the worst thing you could ever say to Kay and times that by 10, and that is what they say to her in the
I
game
honestly
chats.
couldn't.
Maybe that's why she handles the hate so well online because she's like, this is
I've
nothing.
been doing this
Yeah.
since 2015.
That is funny. I could try to learn some video games.
I could tell you some like
We could all go
fun
paintballing
I'll tell
and
you what I
stuff.
played growing up.
Okay.
I did play Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
Oh, see,
I played Zelda.
okay.
I played
love Zelda.
Mario Kart.
007 on N64.
I did too.
Goldeneye?
Goldeneye. Played that. I played all the Super Smash Bros, Super Mario, all of that. I played anything that my brother was playing, but I'll tell you where he lost me was like the Minecraft. He lost me, and then he lost me at
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft. He was actually really big in World of Warcraft. That was his
Yeah.
thing.
That one
And then
destroys families.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
lives.
but I liked like 007 and like some of those like shooter games because they weren't too like I don't know, grotesque and like too
Mhm.
much, but I was
Yeah.
still like competitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of my jam. So anything in that realm.
Are you
I
playing Call of Duty?
Not really.
We've never really gotten
Tarkov.
into that one. We play Tarkov. That one's pretty
What's
fun.
Escape from Tarkov. It would take a long time to explain. Think a shooter game with extra
Okay.
steps.
You guys
Yeah.
play board games?
We have a bunch of board
Yeah, they
games.
love
Board
we
games.
talked about
Catan.
this. They want to play
I-
Catan.
I
I
love-
love
yeah.
That's fun.
I switched over to Risk.
Oh,
but-
really? I've not played that one.
I
Is
love
it fun?
Risk. I played that one. Something I did when I was deployed.
Yeah, you
A
seem
lot of
like you
Risk.
would
Lot of
be into
Risk?
like niche board games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We need to have a game board night.
We should.
Yeah.
We
really
love
should.
game night. Okay, let's see.
Where do y'all want to be in 10 years?
If I could be exactly where I am right now in 10 years, like that would be great. Obviously I want to continue to progress and like maybe make a brand or a company
Yeah.
like you guys have. But like I am just so content with our life right now that I wouldn't be mad if we just did exactly what we're doing right now for 10 years.
That's
Obviously,
awesome.
maybe pop more children out. but-
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm
Oh.
on the definitely the more
Wait
children.
a minute. We can just skip over that. We're good. More
How many
babies.
are we talking?
I want at least 2 more.
Okay.
I've always wanted 4 kids, and I
Same.
feel like, honestly, I could have a baby every year and be happy. Like, I love having babies. Like, I think it's the most fun thing. It's the most
Ooh, that's very
rewarding thing. I mean, now don't get me wrong. I don't love pregnancy. Like,
Okay,
I don't
okay.
love pregnancy at
Okay,
all.
yeah. Oh,
It's
she
the
hates it.
having the baby and seeing them for the first time, like
Mhm.
the just absolute high you get from like having a newborn.
I love that part too.
It is just
epidural, all that.
unmatched.
And then
Yeah.
Ellie
Yeah.
is just like the perfect baby. Like
Oh my gosh, she's
I think
so
she's
good.
good purposely so that we'll have more, and then they're gonna
And
be
they're
yeah
not.
they're gonna be the worst.
I've actually been blessed with 2 really good babies. Like
Yeah.
Kinsley was so good. She's
Kinsley
great
is
now.
amazing, y'all. Like I know that she's not in your content, but I've had a chance of meeting her a couple times. That girl is amazing.
She's so like
she's
chill.
so
Thank you.
mature. Like honestly, she could be your mom. Like she's so
She has to
mature.
keep me,
And she's
leveled.
like, you ask her any question and she really knows herself and she's confident. She's beautiful. Like, you've done such a good job with her.
Thank
like,
you.
I was just blown away the first time that I ever met her. I'm like, can we hang? Like, is that okay? Is that weird?
I feel like she's just a very good kid. She has a great head on her shoulders. She's going to do big things, great
Yeah.
things. She's not the kid that I'm ever going to have to worry about. Like, and thank goodness she was the one I had at 19 because she truly was such an easy baby. Like you could put her in her bed and she would just fall asleep. There was no sleep training from the
Yeah.
get-go. She was just easy.
Mm.
And the only thing I will say is she's the pickiest eater
Mhm.
I've ever met. Like for a
Mhm.
while she was on the beige diet. So it was like chicken nuggets, French fries, mashed
Well, I'm
potatoes.
still on that diet.
It was
I'm 32, still going beige.
But yeah, both having 2 kids back to back that are great and like
Mhm.
well behaved, like I could have like 5 more, but realistically, we'll probably have 2 more.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's the goal.
I love it. Let's see. What advice would you give to others getting into creating content right now?
Anyone can do it as long as you keep your head in it at all times. Like momentum is
Yeah.
everything.
Mm.
And you guys know this.
Consistency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
consistency and momentum. That's it. I mean,
Ride the
Like,
wave.
we've done a piece of content every day since we made our New Year's resolution, you know.
Mhm.
It
Except
really is a
one day.
lifestyle change. I mean, you can't just expect to not make it like your life. Like, I mean, you think about content every single day.
Yep.
You have to.
If you want to be on top, if you want to succeed, you
Mhm.
have to do those things. Like, you have to be consistent. You can't go a month without posting, you know, like, not saying you can't come back and make good views, but you're not gonna grow the same way.
It is a
Yeah.
lifestyle. It's not
It
a
is.
job.
It's
a
It's
lifestyle.
not.
Yep.
It's
Mhm.
not
For
a
sure.
job.
You gotta
And-
love it.
But that's what I love about this job, is that it's really like integrated into just our normal life. I feel like I'm not working. I feel like I'm just living my life.
Mhm.
And that's why I feel like when we post very like milestone content, like just slices of our day, and those are like memories. And now like I'm thinking about Ellie turning 1 next month, and I'm like, but I have a whole year. Literally, I'm
You
going to
can
have
just see what she's doing.
365 days worth of Ellie content. Like, you know,
Mhm.
not just Ellie, but just our life. For 365 days, I'm going to have that. And that makes it worth it to me. Even if it wasn't about the followers or the money or anything, the perks, I get to have all of these memories. And it is just so cool that we get to do that.
I love that too. My mom's always like, "Oh, you don't have photo albums." I'm like, "Mom, they're all over the internet,
Yeah.
and you can access them anywhere that you are." Like,
Exactly.
you have been very transparent about your autoimmune conditions. That's kind of what you call it. You started dealing with those about 5 years ago, I believe. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So I actually have a family history of autoimmune conditions. My mom has lupus. She's actually she was a nurse. She's disabled now. And so it kind of runs in my family. So about 5 years ago, I started getting very mild symptoms. Like, not, if I didn't have a family history, I wouldn't have been alerted to go to the doctor. I mean, it was very, very mild, like maybe some joint stiffness in the mornings, but I just felt like, okay, maybe I'm getting old, you know? And so I started seeing a rheumatologist, and initially they couldn't find really anything. My labs looked great. I looked pretty great. Didn't really have obvious swelling or anything. And then it just kind of remained the same for a couple of years. And then it just kind of progressively started getting worse. And I would say in 2022 is when I finally started getting some of my labs started showing what I was feeling, but not quite enough to get a diagnosis to match all of my symptoms. Like, I haven't really said this online, but my symptoms match lupus. Like, I have almost every single lupus symptom, but it's a very hard diagnosis to get, like incredibly hard. And anybody who has it will tell you it took them 5+ years to get diagnosed, because you feel horrible. You have all the symptoms and signs, but your labs look fine. And it's a puzzle. You have to have both really to get that proper diagnosis. So anyways, I got pregnant. I felt great during pregnancy. And then at about 7 weeks postpartum is when I mean, the worst I felt ever. I didn't feel this bad before. I've lost about 50% of my hair. I actually have extensions now because it got to the point where, I mean, it was very hard to look at. I mean, so few hairs in my head. That on top of rashes. So I can't go in the sun because I get just rashes. I don't burn. I just get rashes. So I do fake tanner now, and it's great. And then there's just so many symptoms, fevers, daily fevers. But yeah, so I just recently got a lab result back that is really the main piece that my doctor wanted to see before giving me this diagnosis, which I don't have, by the way. I've not officially been diagnosed, but this is the one that she said for all these years, well, but this is negative. This is negative. And so now that it's positive, I feel like I have so much validation, even though I haven't even spoken to my doctor about it. I already know, like, I'm going to be able to walk in and be like, see, I told you, like, this is what I've known in my heart is wrong with me. Because when it's yourself, like, not only you know your body, you know when something's off. When the doctor sees you for 20 minutes every 3 months, like, they just see the pieces, right? They're not actually living with it every day. But I could be my own rheumatologist at this point because I've researched endlessly every single symptom, every lab test, all of it. And I can tell you without a doubt, like, I know what's wrong with me. And so I just feel so much validation that I think I'm finally going to get help and get the medication that I need. Because that's the other thing is insurance won't cover. If you don't have the proper diagnosis, you can't get on the medication because they're like, well, she's not been diagnosed with this. And so they won't cover it. So that kind of stinks.
And for me, like, what helped it click is Kay has like diagnoses
Mhm.
of different autoimmune conditions where
Yes.
the doctors just kind of like took a shot and they're like, I think it's this. I think it's
Yeah.
this. And that kind of sucks to be like, because there's thousands of autoimmune conditions.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks for them to be like, I think you have these 3 or 4 things, but like, what if it isn't those 4 things? And what if it's just lupus? And so like Kay's like really research and like, I don't think I have 5 different issues. I think I have 1 issue.
Like
and,
I've been told I have rheumatoid arthritis. I've been told I have fibromyalgia, and I've been told I have Sjogren's, which are and don't get me wrong, you can have like 5 autoimmune conditions. It's very common to
They all
have. If you have
overlap,
one,
the
you can
symptoms.
have multiple. So I'm not saying I don't have those other things, but there's so many of my symptoms that don't align with those. If that
And
makes
your
sense.
mom has lupus?
My mom has SLE lupus. She also has Sjogren's and rheumatoid arthritis.
Do those usually, is it genetic? Sometimes lupus?
I think they've been found to be genetic. I don't know. There's a lot of science behind
Yeah.
it. Like I think you have like I forget the percentage. You have a higher chance if your mother has it.
When you told your mom your symptoms, was she like, yeah, that's probably what it is?
Oh yeah.
So
I'm literally my mom's carbon copy. Like
Wow.
everything I experience, she's like, I literally get the same thing. So that's what's helped me keep pushing for this diagnosis, because I know like my mom's experiencing it.
And it's been 5 years.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is exhausting
It is.
and
It is. frustrating.
And it just goes to show you really do have to continue to advocate for
Yes.
yourself.
Yep. Keep getting the tests. Even if they're negative, they will turn positive if it's there.
Really?
So
That is so
She had to actually end up coming off all of her medication. So like all the stuff that doctors had prescribed to help her with her pain and stuff
Mhm.
for other autoimmune conditions, she just had to cold turkey all of it.
I really think that those medications were what was causing my tests to look normal, because they were helping just enough that it wasn't able to show. And now that I've been just off of everything for like 3 months now, it finally started showing. And I was like, well,
wow.
it had to have been it.
Did you ever deal with postpartum depression?
I wasn't clinically like diagnosed with that, but I would definitely say I had a lot of that and anxiety really bad.
Same. And I think that I had never taken a medication consistently like that. You know, if I had strep or whatever flu, I would take something. But I feel like ever since I started that medication, it's so hard to track like why are the night sweats happening? Are they from that medication? Are they from the pregnancy? Or are they from anxiety? Are they from I'm just hot at night? Like it's just so hard to track it and I'm so scared to go cold turkey. Especially because I've had now 3 pregnancies in 4 years. And so I'm like, I don't want to get off my medication because these pregnancies are hard. And so, but I will look forward to the day whenever I can just like clear everything and start from scratch and like really assess. But yeah, I'm sorry. That is for 5 years. That's a lot, but good for you for like keep fighting for yourself and for trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm hoping that you get that clear diagnosis. So we'll be praying. Where can people find you guys?
I don't know. Which
You
one
don't
do you
know where
want
to find
which one
us?
do you want to shout out? Like, I don't,
Just Google them. You'll find all their links.
Yeah.
You can
go
find
to
us
our
on
YouTube. We're gonna do
Instagram.
long form at some
Yes.
point. So
That's
go to our
an
YouTube.
answer to the 10-year question. I want to be making long form content.
It sounds
Really?
looks
More?
so fun.
Yeah, I want to do long form, like really bad.
I want, but not on our own. Like I
Yeah,
can't do it alone.
Would you ever hire an editor?
If
For
we were
sure.
doing long form, and I would even hire someone to film.
Mhm.
Like
That's
Yeah.
the thing, because I don't know how you'd be filming for all platforms like that.
we couldn't.
It's too much.
But
Like we already feel like
we want to
overwhelmed
do
with-
long form though.
We were doing long form and TikTok and Instagram stories. At one point, we hired this guy. Remember Jack?
Oh yeah.
And he came over and filmed us. And it was just like the flow was so hard because it was just like 3 different storylines that we just couldn't figure out how to match up all the storylines into one.
Yeah.
You know?
You definitely have
Yeah.
to set a day aside and like
Mhm.
film the YouTube video. And,
Yeah.
But when you're doing daily stories, that's really hard
Yeah.
at the time.
True.
That was really hard.
Yeah. Any other projects you guys are working on?
I don't think so.
I mean, we have like branded stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
I have some new jewelry pieces that are about to come out.
Ooh.
So I'm pretty excited about those.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Rellery. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're so nice.
They're awesome. They'll actually be at the first birthday party.
Really?
Yeah, they're super sweet.
You should do another event with them.
Like
Oh,
a
yeah.
pop up.
Yeah, I bet people loved that.
I know everybody keeps
was
asking
so
if we're gonna do
fun.
another one. I loved doing the pop up.
We should do a joint pop up.
Let's-
That'd be fun. Is that a thing? Like multiple creators do a pop up together?
Yeah, I'll do
Yeah,
it.
totally.
Oh yeah.
We could do Divi and Rellery.
Divi,
Oh,
Divi and
yeah.
Rellery. Get your scalp massage.
Get your scalp
and
massage.
put
Get
on.
your let us
Rose
know.
couture.
Yeah.
We love Rose Couture. Yeah, we do that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hey, let us know. Hey, I'll be available. I'm not going anywhere. I got this baby that I got to deliver.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast, and
Thanks for having us.
I hope that y'all are over more playing playing some video games. Maybe
maybe
sorry.
paintball.
Work
Sorry.
a ton.
Board games, not video games. Maybe
Hey, we can
video
do the
games.
Hey, 4 people. That's PUBG. It's a full lobby. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mario
PUBG.
Party.
Maybe you can convert. Oh, Mario Party. I would do that. I would do that.
Get the Wii's back out.
Yeah. Oh my
Wii.
gosh.
Oh my
so
God.
Wii. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the rest of this episode. Make sure you leave a comment down below of your favorite part.
Comment something that people wouldn't understand.
People,
Like, and then everyone will be confused.
yeah. Oh, what do people comment?
Just in the podcast. He already said it.
Okay. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.